Hello everyone. In this week we are going to start with another new topic, which is ArrayList and Generics. This is something a relatively new topic which is more related towards the data structures. So we are going to have not much in detail, but at least an idea about the generics and an ArrayList. So let's first of all talk about ArrayList in Java. ArrayList in Java, it's a part of the collection framework, and ArrayList is present in java.util package. So if you want to work with ArrayList, you need to import java.util package. It provides us with dynamic arrays in Java. By the word dynamic means the size of your array is not fixed. It can increase or decrease while you are executing your program. So it may increase or it may decrease. Though it may be slower than the standard arrays, but it can be helpful in the programs where we need a lot of manipulation on the array. And this class is found in the java.util package. So Java-ArrayList class, it uses a dynamic array for storing the elements. It is just like an array, but there is no size limit. We can add or remove the elements anytime, so it is much more flexible than the traditional array, and it is found in the java.util package. It is just like the vector in C++, if you have done vector C++, and it is just like the vectors. ArrayList in Java can have the duplicate element also. It implements the list interface so that we can use all the methods of the list interface here. The array list maintains the insertion order internally, and it inherits the abstract list class and implements the list interface. Alright, so moving ahead. So beginning with Java version 5.0, Java allows class and method definition which include parameter for types, and they are called as the generics. So ArrayList is a class in the standard Java libraries, and unlike the arrays, they have fixed length, but ArrayList does not have a fixed length. It can grow and shrink while your program is running. So that's quite an important difference and an important point for the ArrayList. In general, ArrayList serves the same purpose just like an array, except that ArrayList can change length while the program is running. So it can shrink or it can grow. ArrayList is implemented by using an array as a private instance variable, and when this hidden array is full, a new larger hidden array is created and the data is transferred to this new array internally. Now the question arises, why not always to use ArrayList instead of the array? As I told just before, it is little slower than the array. So an ArrayList is less efficient than the array. It does not have the convenient square bracket notation. We have a different notation to declare and to traverse through the array. And the base type of the ArrayList must be a class type or other. It cannot be a primitive type. And the last point is this is not a problem, but again Java provides sometimes automatic boxing and unboxing of the primitives. Alright, so how to use the ArrayList class? In order to make use of the ArrayList class, first of all we need to import java.util package, and ArrayList is created and named in the same way as object of any class. So we need to have ArrayList followed by the base type. Here we need to provide the type, whether it's a string type, it's an integer type, it's a float type, it's a double type, boolean type, whatever. Then the name of the ArrayList is equals to new ArrayList, and again the type, and these are the round brackets. Now in round brackets, it's optional to put the size. You can put the size also. An initial capacity can be specified when creating an ArrayList as well. For example, the code given over here, ArrayList string, that means I am creating an ArrayList of the string data type. The name of my ArrayList is list, and it has an initial capacity of 20 elements. Specifying an initial capacity does not limit the size to which an array list can eventually grow. My array list can have more than 20 elements also. It can grow more than this size also. So the base type of an array list is specified as the type parameter. So it's a type parameter basically. Now let's talk about certain methods of the array list. Although I am going to do the programs for almost all the methods, all the important methods. But there are certain methods for which I may not be doing the program, but they are important as well. And I may not be following the program given in your book or given in the slides. I am going to prepare my own sample programs to give you the examples and for all the methods in the array list. Alright, so the first important method let's talk about is add method. Add method is used to add into the array list, to add an element into the array list. So we have a version of the add method, name of your array list dot add, and in the bracket if it is a string, specify string variable, and if it is an integer, specify integer or whatever. This add method is overloaded. There is also a 2 argument version. So we have another version of the add method which allows an item to be added at any current index position or unused position. For example, we will talk about it later. Size method. Size method is used to find out how many, what is the size, what is the current size of my array. So for example, array list int how many. So in the array list, so we can have like for example integer how many and list dot size. So when I call the size method, whatever the number of elements will be stored in this integer variable. So it will return the size. So for example, the capacity of my array list is 20. Initially I have only 2 elements or 4 elements. So size will return 2 or 4 whatever, and capacity will return whatever is my initial capacity. Set and get method is used to set method is used to replace any existing value, and get method is used to access the value of any existing element. So list dot set, we give over here index and whatever the variable we want to change, and the get method is used to retrieve a value at a particular index in the array list. Add method is usually used to place an element in the array list position for the first time. Simplest add method has a single parameter, but we can have another add method also. An element can be added at an already occupied list position by using the 2 parameter version. So this causes the new element to be placed at the index specified, and every other member of the array list will be moved up by 1 position, right? So if I insert something here, every other element will be moved up by 1 position. The 2 argument version of the add can also be used to add an element at the first unused position if the position is known. And individual element can be changed by using the set method. However, set can reset the element. It does not add, it just changes the element at a particular index position. The method size can be used to determine how many elements are there. The tools for manipulating array consist of the square brackets and the instance variable length. ArrayList come with selection of powerful methods that can do many of the things for which code would have to be written in order to use them with using arrays. So here are certain important methods like ArrayList and initial capacity. We specify the initial capacity. In this we don't specify the initial capacity, but with a specified base type and an initial capacity of 10. So if you don't specify, it has a by default initial capacity of 10. Then set method is used to set the element at a specified index position, and it returns the element previously at that position. Get is used to retrieve the element. What is the element stored at a particular index position? Then Boolean add, it can add a specified element at the end of array list and increases the array list size by 1. I have another version of add method, index, specified by the base elements. So it inserts a new element as an element in the calling array list at the specified index, and each element in the array list with index greater or equal to the index which is specified over here is shifted upward to have an index that is greater than its previous value. We have remove method also, so it removes a element at a particular position. And there are other methods also which you can go through it. I am going to, okay, I have another two important methods, index of and last index of. So index of, we provide object target, so it returns the index of the first element that is equal to the target, and uses this method equals of the object, it returns -1 if target is not found. And last index of, it returns the last index of the last element that is equal to the target. So when we use the method equals of the, it returns -1 again if the target is not found. We are going to do programs based on all these. Alright, so moving ahead, is empty is used to check whether my array list has a size of 0 or not. And then I have size, ensure capacity, and trim to size. These are the other methods in the, but most of the time we are going to use like add or remove or index, set index of, these type of the methods. So when looking at the methods available in the array list, there is certain inconsistency, and array list implements a number of class interfaces also. Okay, now for iterating the array list, if I want to traverse the element, I can use for each loop, and it's an example of the collection class. So I can use for each loop. Anyways, I'm going to do this example also. Alright, so let's start with a very simple example of array list, of creating an array list. Okay, so I will just start with a very simple example of the array list. Okay. Alright, I choose my my path from here. Okay, no, this is week 14, and I have okay, I will put it here. Alright, let me just make it the name intro array list, yeah, something like introduction or intro array list. Alright, so because it's in util package, import java.util.ArrayList, or even you can use the star also. So public class intro array list. I'll create the main method, public static void main string args. Alright, now let's create an array list. I'll create an array list of the integer type. So array list, this is the integer, integer, and let me just give my name, the array list name as AR is equals to new array list. I can specify like this. I have not specified any capacity for the list. Now let me just start adding the array, ar.add. So it's integer type. I will add all the integers. ar.add. So the first element is added at index 0, ar.add 7, ar.add 2, AR dot add. Let's add few more elements. 1. Let's add the last element. AR dot add 9. Okay. So let's just try to print it. System.out.println. Our array list is AR. So first element will be at position 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. The size of, if I don't specify, the size of my array list is 10 and the capacity of my array list is 10 and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 elements, right? So let's just compile it. Okay, no worries. So if you see, it has printed all the elements 5, 7, 2, 1 and 9. Alright, now if I want to return the size, int a is equals to AR dot size and system.out.println. So what the size is, the size is plus a. This is just generating a warning, okay, because I have the error here. This was just generating the warning. I think I need to fix it, but it will run. So the size is 5. I have 5 elements over here, right? So this is the size method. Alright, now let's add some more element. Let me add AR.add 2, 10. Now what does this mean? This means that add an element 10 to the index position 2. So 0, 1, 2. At my index position 2, I have the element 2. Now instead of 2, it will add the element 10 and 2 will become to the index position 3 and the index position of 1 will change and 9 will change. It will not be removed, rather they will their index position will be changed by 1. Alright, so let's just try to print it. Alright, so let me just try to print it. Alright. So if you see over here, I have the element 57219 initially, 57219. So at index position 2, I have the element 2. Now at index position 2, I have added the element 10. So 2 is moved to index position 3, 1 is moved to index position 4 and 9 is moved to index position 5. So their index position is up by 1. So this is the way you can add an element specified by an index position. Alright, now set method AR.set 4, 7. This means that set the element at index position 4 to 7. So what is the element at 4? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 1, right? No, now the elements won't be moved. Rather, 1 will be replaced with 7. So let's just check it. Alright. So if you see, previously it was 1 at position number 4. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now it's 7. Alright. So set method can set the or it is basic, it can set the element to some other element. So it is basically, it's not replacing, rather it is modifying that element. Okay, let's try to do another method, which is get method. So since my array is integer, is equals to ar.get. Okay, let's get the element at position number 0 maybe. So system.out.println b. So the first println will print 57219, then it will print the size. Then the second, instead of it will add 5710219, and the third print statement, it will do 5710249 79, sorry, and then now it will print the element at position number, index position number 0. These are the certain methods. So the element at the index 0 is 5. Alright, I have another two methods. I have two methods, system.out.println ar.index of and last index of. Index of 7. What is the index of integer 7? Alright, so what is the index of element 7? So it will return me the first index. So it will return me the first index. If you see 5, 7, 10, 2, 7, 9. So 0, 1. So it has returned the first index. Now I have another method, which is last index. It will return the last occurrence, the index of the last occurrence of a integer. Alright. So last index of. Now it should return me 4. Last, I think it should be capital. Last index of, yes. Okay, so the last index of is 4. Alright, so the last index of 7 is 4. Alright, instead of 7, let's try for some other element. Let's try for 5. Alright, and last occurrence of 5. Alright, so for the 5, the index is 0 and the last occurrence is also 0, right? So if our element is repeating multiple times, the last index will give us the last occurrence of that particular element. Now if the element does not exist, for example, I don't have the element 1, right? Or even I don't have the element 8 also. Okay, so let's just try index of. It should return -1, because if the element does not exist, it will return me -1, right? -1, and the last index of is 5 is 0. Alright, so that was a very simple, some few methods and some examples of the array list, although I am going to explain more also. Alright, now Java collection framework was non-generic before, but after that it became generic, and new generic collection allows us to have one type of object collection. Now what is a generic and what is a non-generic? Before Java's JDK 1.5 version, we used to create an array list something like this. Let me just give you the example over here. Just give you the syntax. ArrayList AR is equals to new ArrayList. Alright, so this is a old non-generic way of creating an array list. Now with this example, You can this type of array list can have any type of elements. It can have integers, it can have like a string or whatever. But now this is the way, this new way of creating the array list. It specifies the integer, so we can add only integer. Okay, let me just try to create a some element over here. Okay, for example, if I add, for example, I have up to 9. Here I add ar.add. Let me add Java. Alright. So it will be added after 9. Now the last element will be added after 9. So if you see over here, because I have defined it as an integer, it will not take string value. It will give me a compile time error. So these are the generic list. It's a new way of creating the generic list. So in the generic collection, we specify the type in the angular bracket, and now array list is forced to have only specified type of objects in it. And if I try to add something like string in the array list of integer type, it gives me a compile time error. Alright, let's just do certain more examples. Okay, let's create another array list. I make it an example 2. I'll just copy this code, but the other, I'm going to create an array of strings now. Instead of integers, I'm going to create an array of strings now. Alright, so all these methods you already know. So let me just specify, for example, over here, string. Okay, one thing more, let's just try to do something. If I specify over here 20, that means the capacity of my array list is 20. Although it can have more than 20 elements, let's try with this. Let me just write 3 elements. That means the capacity of my array list is 3. So let's add ar.add Java. Next we add something more. Java ArrayList is. Alright, let me just print my ArrayList. So I have 3 elements, system.out.println. The ArrayList is plus AR. Alright, I can have more elements also. It's example 2. So Java ArrayList is, so 3 elements. Okay, if I add ar.add easy. Okay, and I also add ar.add 2, and here I add programming, right? So what should be my output now? Java ArrayList programming is easy. How many I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 elements in my ArrayList, although the capacity is 3. It can grow and shrink. So Java ArrayList programming is easy. So programming goes to, instead of the index of is increased by 1. It was 2, now it becomes 3. Index of easy was 4, now it becomes 5. Alright. Okay. Now let's try to remove it. I have two methods, ar dot remove. Either I can specify the position. For example, I specify the position 2 and then I just print it, the updated array list. Alright, so at position 2 the word was programming. So Java ArrayList is easy. Alright, even I can specify something like ar.remove is. Alright. Okay. So it will remove the word is. Java ArrayList easy. It has. Now let's have something word which does not exist. What happens? So nothing will happen because that word does not exist. So this is another way of removing a word from the array list. Either you specify the index or you specify the word itself. That's one and the same thing after the object removal. Now let's talk about get set methods and traversing the list also. Alright, so if I want something like get method, I already system.out.println. I can use the get method like this also because that was an integer array. Okay, returning element. So let's return some element. My array name is plus ar dot get at one position. Alright, so at first position the element is array list. Alright, so now I have only 3 words. So returning element array list. Alright, I just remove it. I don't want to remove this. Okay. Alright, now I add something, ar dot add at position 2 I write is. Alright, sorry. So it will return the same thing, but now is also added. Java programming is easy. Java ArrayList because I am not printing it, so I'm just retrieving the element. If I print it also, let me print it. So Java ArrayList is easy. We have many ways of iterating the array list. We were talking about iterating the array list. We have for each, we can use for each, we can use while also. There are many methods for iterating, for example while, and we can use for each method also. For each loop also we can use. Alright, this is an example over here to iterate through the array list using for each loop. You will find over here. So let's try to iterate through this array list. I can write. So let's just check the syntax for each. So if you see over here, for specified by what type of values you want to print, for example string, then any variable where it should be stored, followed by what is the name of your array, right? So you need to specify the type also. So for example, for my array type is string. So let me just give a name where what is the name of my you can say the values or the name of my string variable where I want to store the array list elements. Let me just give a name called val, followed by this 2 dots and followed by the name of my array, and then system.out.println and AR. It should be val. So I am printing it. Alright. So the updated Java array list is easy. It is going to print like this. So if I go to my integers example also, I can print something like this because I have integer values for int. Let me call it as a list. And what is the name of my array? AR. So system.out.println. I'll print list. So this is how you can iterate this method, because alright, so it has returned me okay, system.out.println, iterating through the array list. Now it will be clear. So iterating through the array list 5, 7, 10, 2, 7, 9. So this is the way you can iterate through the array list. Even I can use the for loop also. So how to use the for loop? Another method, system.out. I will come out of this. System.out.println, another method of iterating. So I can like write for int I is equals to 0, I is equals to 0, then I is less than size, AR dot size, right? So until the size it has to iterate. Alright, I can use the for loop also like this, and okay, AR dot size and I plus plus, okay. And what will I do? System dot out dot println and AR dot get I. So I can use the get I method. Alright, either I can, if I want to print it in the same line, for example plus, then I can use like this, or one by one I can. Alright, so let's just compile it. I have the error here. System sys system.out.println. Again I have the error here. So it's done. So if you see, another method of iterating Java-ArrayList is easy because it's println. Let me just use the print method here. So you can iterate like this also. So Java-ArrayList is easy. This is another method of iterating. Okay. one or two more earlier prepared examples which I will like to discuss with you. Alright, so I have it over here. These are already prepared. I'll first of all discuss this example, array list. So list the contents. So what I am doing, you can write like this also, or even you can make it no need of writing integer also over here. So the initial capacity I have defined as 0. Alright, so I am adding the elements 5, 3, 4, 2, 1, 2, 6, and it's an array list of integers. Alright, so here I am printing the array, so it will print 5, 3, 4, 2, 1, 2, 6. Remove 2. Alright, so it will remove both the 2. So it will remove the element called 2. Alright, so it will remove the element dot remove. It will remove specified by the index number. Which index number I want to remove? So 0, 1, 2, 4, fourth element. Alright, let's understand this one. So the first contents, it is listing 5, 3, 4, 2, 1, 2, 6 as usual, what I print, the way I added. Remove 2, it will remove the element at position 2, 0, 1, 2. So the element is 4, it will remove it. ArrayList dot remove object 2. So it will remove now what is the element at position number 2. So it is, so even I can write object 2. So after removing 2, what was my array? 5, 3, 2, 1, 2, 6. Now when I say object 2, so it will remove the element at number 2. What is that element? 0, 1, 2. It will remove 2, and my contents of the array will be 5, 3, 1, 2 and 6. So this is how you can specify the remove. Alright, I have another example over here. So what are we doing over here? We have defined an array list. The size is 10. So we are returning the size. A1 dot, this is how to return the size, right? Now I am adding the elements. This is a string type. Now here I have added at first position as A2, 0, 1. So A2 will be added over here. Now the contents will be C, A2, A, E, B, D and F. So when I print over here, first contents, it should be C, A2, A, E, B, D, B, D and F. Let's just try to check it. So if you see, size of A1 is 0 because I have not added any element. Size A1 after, because here also I am printing the size over here after adding the elements. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and I added A2 also, so the size is 7. So it is printing C, A2, A, E, B, D and F, right? Now after this I have printed after this. Now A1 dot set to as yellow. So what is the second element? Let me go over here. 0, 1, 2. So my A was yellow. So instead of A, it will print yellow over here. So the contents will be C, A2, yellow, E, B, D, F. Now then I set red at position number 3. So position number 3 is E. So it will print C, A2, yellow, red, B, D and F. Next what I am doing? Get 5. So fifth element is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It is D. So it will return me D. Alright, now I am, after this I am removing D. So the new contents are, after removing D, C, A2, yellow, red, B and F. Then I am removing F and removing at index 2. So F is removed and yellow is removed. So I have the elements C, A2, red and B. Then after this index of red. So index of red will be 0, 1 and 2. So the index of red value will be 2. Index of red is, I can return like this I. I can return like this I, index of I. So index of red value is I. Wait. Alright, so final contents were this, and then I am printing the index of red value which will be plus I, because here I have used the index of red. So array dot index of, and I have stored it in the integer variable I, and here I am printing it. So this is how the various operations on the array list can be performed. So that was about ArrayList. Now we proceed to the generics. Alright, now let's go to the generics. So there are other methods also which you can go through. So what does generics means? Generics actually means parameterized type, and the idea of the generics is to allow type, for example integer, string, double, else, etc., and the user defined types to be the parameter of the methods, classes and the interfaces. Using generics, it is possible to create classes that work with the different data types. So an entity such as a class, interface or a method that operates on a parameterized type is called as the generics. Why do we need a generic? Because object is the superclass of all the other classes, we know it, and object reference can refer to any type of object. So these features lack type safety, but generics add that type safety feature. We will discuss the type safety feature in one of the example. Generics in Java is similar to the templates in C++, and the classes like hashset, ArrayList, hashmap can use generics very well. But there are some fundamental differences between the two. So to sum up, Java generics programming was introduced in Java version 5 to deal with type safe objects, and it makes the code stable by detecting the bugs during the compile time. Before generics, we could store any type of objects in the collection, that is non-generic. I gave you an example of the non-generic. And now generic forces the Java programmer to store a specific type of objects. So classes and methods, they can have parameter types. I'm just going to give you just a few introduction on generics from here, and then I will switch on to my examples. So classes and methods can have type parameters. Type parameter can have any reference type. That means it can be plugged for the type parameter. When the specific type is plugged, this procedure specifies a class type or a method. So traditionally, a single uppercase letter is used for a type parameter, but any non-keyword identifier may also be used. The class definition with a type parameter is stored in the file, and it is just compiled like other class. Once a parameterized class is compiled, it can be used like any other class. And the class type plugged in for the type parameter, it should be specified before. Alright, so we can, like for example, if you see, we can specify a parameter for a type, for a class. We can specify a parameter for a method. We can specify a parameter for a function. So this is T. T is a parameter for a type. We can have other variables also, E, V. I will explain you the meanings. So a class that is defined with a parameter for a type is called as the generic class, or it is called as the parameterized class. The type parameter is defined in the angular brackets after the class name. If I am defining a parameterized class, the parameter will be defined after the name of the class and in the angular brackets. Any non-keyword identifier can be used for the type parameter, but by convention, parameter starts with the uppercase letter. Type parameter can be used like other types used in the definition of the class. There are many pitfalls that can be allowed with the that can be encountered. Alright, I'm not going to do any of these examples, rather I'm going to explain you my own examples. You can go through these examples by yourself. If there is anything, let me just go through it. I will start explaining you my examples from my examples. Alright, you can go through all these things. Generic methods I am going to explain. Alright, so I will just start with my own example. Before going with the generics, let's first of all talk about the advantages of generics. Alright, so I will just make it as a sample generic, because first of all I am going to explain you the advantages of generics. So the first example is type safety. Let me just start with type safety feature to explain you what is type safety. Alright, so I will just use star, or you can use generics also. I will use star because I can use ArrayList or generics both. Sample generic. Alright, the first advantage of generics is type safety. With the help of generics, we can hold a single type of objects in generic. It doesn't allow to store other objects. So without generics, we can store any type of objects. For example, previously when we used to declare the array list, let me just close it. Alright, previously when without the generic array list, when we used to declare some array list like something like list L1 is equals to new array list. Alright, so here I have not defined any type array list. Now here I have not defined any type, so I can add something like list.add10, and I can add list.add10. Now if I compile it, it should not give me an error if I used it before the generics, because now we are using the generic array list. So this was actually with generic. Now with generics, it was actually okay before the generics. Now with the generics, we need to specify the type over here. For example, like this, which I have explained you just now. So this means that, sorry, I think the error was here. It should work. So if you see, it's working, right? It can take string values. It can take like if I try to print it, system.out.println L1. Alright, if I write over here instead of 10 as Java to be more specific. So this is an example of the non-generics. Generic has imposed type safety. Type safety means we need to define the type, data type for the object. So we can hold only a single type of object in the generics. Now here you can hold any type of object. So it actually disqualifies the type safety. Now with the generics, it is required to specify the type of object we need to store. So now with the generics, we need to specify something like this, integer. So this means that my ArrayList L1 is an integer type. Now if I compile it, it will give me an error. So it gives me a compile time error. So that's one of the important advantage of the generics. Second is typecasting is not required. There is no need to typecast the objects. Before generics, we need to typecast the object. Now, because index, we can use the get method by using the index number. Index is an integer, so we need to typecast the object whatever we want to retrieve it. So for example, if I try to write something like this with this, for example, if I try to write something like this, okay, string s is equals to L1 dot get 0. Alright, so let's just check it. It will give me an error because I need a typecasting, something like over here I need to convert this index number into a string value. So like this I have to convert it. It requires a typecasting, but with the generics the typecasting is not required. And the third thing is compile time checking, because compile time problem will not occur. It is checked at the compile time and the problem will not occur, and it's a good programming strategy that all the exceptions or all the errors are handled during the compile time. So for example, this type of error is handled during the compile time. So these are some of the advantages of using the generics. Alright, let's just do an example of the generics. Now here I am going to use the ArrayList class, but you can use collection class such as ArrayList, you can use linked list, you can use hash set, you can use tree set, you can use hash map or any other thing. Alright, so again util.star or util.generic, you can use it. Alright, so what I am going to do over here, the same example, already example I am going to do. ArrayList. Okay, let me make it as a string. L1 is equals to new ArrayList. So that means I am defining it as a generic type, right? So L1 dot add Java, L1 dot add programming. Alright, okay, now for example, if I want to alright, because okay, let me try to retrieve the element at position 1. String s is equals to L1 dot get at position 1. I have the word programming, so no typecasting is required. And system dot out dot println the element is plus s, right? So it will give me. Alright, I can iterate, I can store, I can create an iterator also. For example, iterator. Okay, let's just try to print it. Let's just try to do this one. Then I will move further. The element is programming, right? Okay. Let me try to create an iterator. I can use iterator also. I can use ArrayList. I can use ArrayList or linked list or even the hash set. I can use anything. Now I am going to use iterator. iterator. I'm going to create it as a string type because all my elements are string type. Alright, itr, let me just make it, is equals to L1 dot iterator. So what I have done over here is I have created an object of the iterator class and I have called the iterator method on my ArrayList L1. Alright, so I can traverse like this also. This is another method of traversing an ArrayList. While itr dot has next, right? So what will I do? I'll print it system.out.println. There are many methods of iterating. itr dot next. So basically what I am doing over here, I am traversing the ArrayList. Now my iterator is, I can create a iterator of the string type and I am calling the iterator method. Now while this has next element, it will keep on printing. This is another way. To iterate through your ArrayList. Alright, so Java programming, right? Let's do another example. Let's create a generic class. Like here in this example, the class is made as generic. Let's create a generic class. So what is a generic class? A class that can refer to any type is known as generic class. In this class, I am going to use the t-type parameter just like it is used in the example given in your book to create a generic class of a specific type, and let's just create it. Alright, I just create a class, my generic class. I create it as mygen. So I make it class mygen and I make the parameter as t, right? It can define anything. I create an object of the t type. I create an object of the t type. Now I create a add method, void add, and I pass the parameter t object. And what I do, I just initialize this dot object is equals to object. I'm just initializing it. And what I'm doing here, another thing what I do, I create a get method also, tget. So what I do, I just return that object. I just return that object. Let me compile it. It's done. Alright. But I have not created a main method. The t type indicates that it can refer to any type like string, integer, employee, or class. The type you specify for the class will be used to store and retrieve data. Alright. Now let's create a code how to use this generic class. So let me create my code to use this generic class. So for example, I create test generics. So what will I do? Class test generics. So t defines the type. It can take anything, right? So now I have created my generic class. I can use it in another class to retrieve the values or whatever. Sorry. Public static void main string args. So I will create the object mygen. Let me make it as integer, or let me make it as string, or whatever. Integer, right? M, is equals to new my gen, and that's it. No need to define a type over here. If you want, you can define a type here, right? Okay, so m dot add 2. So I just add the element 2 and I'll write like this: system dot out dot println and m dot get. So I am calling the methods which I defined in my generics class. So I have defined it as a type as integer. Alright, so now if I try to add some string value, m dot add Java, it will give me an error because of typecasting. My generics should be of type integer, right? Now if I make it as a string over here, I can make it as a string, right? Okay, let me just remove it. Now it will be okay. So it can be string, it can be any type. Alright, but if I use this statement, it will be an error because it should take only string values, no integers are allowed. So typecasting is satisfied now, right? Alright, instead of t, I can write any other variable also. So this is actually specifying the type. It can be anything I can write, but it should be a capitalized. The more the consistent format is to use a capitalized variable. Alright, so this is how you can specify a class to be of the generic type. Alright, so here is an example of this class. Alright, moving ahead, let's talk about type parameters. The type parameters are the naming conventions. These are important to learn in generics. The common type parameters which you can use: t as type, e as element, k as key, n as number, and v as value. Now let's try to create a generic method. For example, it's given over here in your book. I think it's the last example. I'll create my own example. I will do the multiple type parameters also. So generic methods. Alright, so this is the format: public static type t gen method, and we specify over here. Alright, so let's just try to make a program on the generic method. So like the generic class, we can create a generic method that can accept any type of arguments. Here the scope of arguments is limited to the method where it is declared. It allows static as well as non-static methods. So I have a very simple example of the generic. I'll create an array also. Okay, so test generic 2 maybe. So public, okay, let me public class test generic 2. Okay, so public static e stands for element. I just told you now, some type of element. Void, I'm going to print array. I'm going to use this method. Okay, let me just first of all create my main method. Before this, print, I'm going to actually print the elements of the array. Okay, so e, whatever the type I used, this is for array and elements. Alright, So before I start with this, let me make my main method public static void main string args. Alright, so I will create an integer array. And the name is int array is equals to, I just make the elements 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Alright, that's it, and I close it. Right. I make another array of the character type, character char array, and I just print some characters J, A, V, Y, T, P, and O. That's it. O, I will repeat the duplicates also. O, okay, N, another T. So I close it. So I have system.out.println, and I'm going to print the integer array, printing integer array. So element means any kind it can take. Alright, so I will just call this method print array, and it will take one parameter, which is int array. Alright, now let's define it over there, and then I will print same way. I will print the character array also. Now let's do the method. What are we going to supposed to do in the method? Character array, and the name is char array. Alright, so I have defined a static method, because from a static method I can call a static method. E is the element, name of the method is print element, and it accepts an array with the elements, right? So what I am going to do over here, so I need to iterate for the elements. That means I want to print the elements. So for, as you know, I have to define an integer. When I want to iterate through array of list, I have to make an variable of data type. So the data type which I have specified is ELE. So E means it can print any type of element. It's not necessarily character, it's not necessarily string, it is not necessarily a float or whatever. So E, element, and what is the variable? Elements. Right? Now what I am going to do here inside, I am just going to print it, system.out.println, this element. You can make it E1 also. Let me make it E1 just to not to confuse you. Alright, so my variable is E1 of type E. Then what do I do? Just system.out.println. This is just an optional. Alright, so if you see over here, I have defined two arrays, integer array and a char array. And what I am doing is I have defined a generic method which can print any type of, take any type of array. Okay, wait. Yeah, here. Still I have is equals to system dot out. Okay, let's check. Yeah, here vytpont. All right, okay, so and this one, okay, so this one is extra. All right, let's just run it. So it has printed the integer array and it has printed the character array. So this is how you can make a generic method. So this is how we can create a generic method. Now let's take an example to pass the multiple type parameters to the class. So we have a class over here with two type parameters, right? So let's create a class where we will pass two types of the parameter. All right, let me create another class. Let me call it as test. I'm going to pass two parameters now for the class. So class test. Now here I just used only one parameter. I can pass multiple parameters, so I'm going to pass two parameters here. That means my class takes two parameters. I can make it any. Let's take this u. Alright, so you can, but the convention is take it like capital letters. So object, whatever variable, a, b, c, d, you can make it whatever variable you want to make it. U object, okay. Alright, I'll create a constructor of this class. Alright, so t, let me make it, okay, object 1, object 2. So t object 1, u object 2. So this dot object 1 is equals to object 1 and this dot object 2 is equals to object 2, and we will create one method also. So this is the constructor for the initialization. Public void print. I just make it a void method. System.out.println. So I'm just going to print it object 1 and whatever object 2. So this is, I have created a generic class with two parameters. I can pass multiple parameters, right? So it's okay. Now I'll create my main class. I'll make it as test main. So class test main, public static void main, string args. Now what will I do? I'll make a test, and what do I want? Let me pass one as a string value, another as a integer value. Integer, and let me just, the object name is object, is equals to new test string. You can make it optional. This, even if you don't specify, it won't give you any error, right? So I just write it generics 10, because the second one is integer. So obj.print, I just call the print method. I think P is capital there. So this is how I can create my own generic class. So generics and 10. So this is how you can pass the multiple parameters to the class. I have one more example of my own already created before for the generics. So I have like my generic and generic app. Alright, so here what we have done, my generic, this is the class. So here again we have passed the two parameters T1 and T2. You can make it anything, but I have declared the variables, the name, its name and age. This is what I told you. You can make it anything. You can give it any name. I made object 1, object 2. You can give it anything, name, age. Then I created the constructor, then set name and get name, set name, get name and get age method. But in the set name, I pass this as new name, the variable name, and we initialize, right? So you can make the variables as private, and then you can make set and get methods, but it should be, the type should be specified, right? T1 and T2. So the get name is T1 and T2.getAge. Now I create my own generic app to use this generic class. So what I have done, my generic string integer. So I'm going to make it as a string integer, and I have passed these two parameters, and the other I am going to make, I can make as many objects as I like, string as string. Both the variables are string, so I'm passing here two string variables. I can call the set method. So for the first variable mygen, I'm creating, instead of Ali, I am making it a name Sami, and then I am calling the get name method for both the variables mygen1. Then I am printing the name nnw, which is get name method. Then I am printing the get age, and then I am also printing over here the get age and storing it in the variables. So all the programming practices that you have already learned, you can apply to it. So this is how you can, this is actually, so your name is Sami, so your name is Sami and the other name is Ahmed, alright. Let me just run it. Your name is Sami and other name is Ahmed, and here it will print your name is Sami and your age is 25, and then I'm printing over here get age, which is 20 over here, and I'm storing it. And for the first variable mygen, I'm again calling the method get age. It will store this 25. So one age is 20 TWENTY, because I am printing the string, and other ages are, which is 25. So this is how you can do it. Over here also I can make two string type variables. For example, test string comma string, and T1 is equals to new test, and here I pass value as ArrayList, and the other value I pass it as generics. Alright, so now I call it as T1.print So I can define those parameters to be of any type: string, string, integer, 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 string, even the double. So ArrayList and Generics, I can specify it as double also. So for example, double, and here also double. So 10.25. So 10.25. So I complete the ArrayList and Generics over here. We will have few questions in the lab exercise and I will be solving that. Kindly go through all these slides for more clarification, and thank you so much.